Hello car nerds and welcome back to Foaming Ions. In today's video we're going to do something a little bit different. We are going to detail the motor bay on my Cadillac Optiq. A lot of people out there with gas engines, you can spray some degreaser and maybe hose it out a little bit. Some people are still a little leery about doing that, a little worried that they might break something or short something out. But generally with the gas engine, with a little water, it's okay. You don't want to flood it. You don't want to, sit there and spray it with a pressure washer forever and a day. But, engines are designed to take splashes of water. If you're driving in the rain or through a puddle, water may splash up into that engine bay. The same logic holds true with an EV. If you don't have a frunk, that is, if you actually have a motor bay. Because, some manufacturers, maybe like GM here with Cadillac, maybe they don't believe in frunks. Might be a thing. So in today's video, I'm going to use some carbon detail tire dressing. I have some diluted 3-to-1 for use on plastic trim and engine components. So we're gonna clean this out. It's an EV and it's sealed bottom, so it just gets a little dusty in there. So I'm going to use some rinseless wash, but I can still show you some of the things to watch out for in case, you do have a pretty dirty like motor bay and you do need to use a little water. Because you can still use a little bit of water and just, kind of miss things off or quickly rinse, Again, they're designed to take splashes of water. They're not designed to sit in water or be flooded with water. So you can do a little bit, you just don't want to do a lot. But we'll talk about that some more, and we'll get into this. All right, now if you're unfamiliar with the Optiq, here's how you open the hood. So right inside, right down here, we have the hood release. We just need to pull up on this twice, and that'll pop it open. So now we can go up front. Let's open the hood. So there's no latch in these that you have to pop. You just simply reach in and pull up. And here we have the engine bay. Or I guess this would be the motor bay, since it's an EV. So as you can see, by all this wonderful work in here, Cadillac does not give you a frunk in the Optiq. But as you can also see, this is not very dirty. This is why we'll just be using a rinseless wash in the car today, because if there's anything, there's a very light dust. Now, to go over if you needed to spray this out, what you would want to watch out for is you got the 12-volt battery over here. So again, this might be an area where you maybe don't want to spray a bunch of chemicals or spray a whole bunch of water. Here is the top of the motor. I believe this is the inverter. So you have the high voltage cables here and here. Now it's good to know that those are waterproof. If you look up the connectors online, there's a couple rubber seals in there that help keep the water out. Again, even though those are waterproof, you may not want to, flood that area with water. The rest of this is fairly standard engine components. You do have a fuse box here. So again, maybe don't flood that area. But if you need to, it's okay to do a gentle mist or a quick splash of water across to rinse things out. So with that said, we're going to get into this. I'm going to grab some rinseless wash and the carbon detail trim dressing, and we're going to get into this. Now for the rinseless wash, I'm using some DIY Detail Rinseless, diluted 16-to-1. And I'm not going to spray it inside the engine bay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to mist the towel here several times just to get it damp. And we should be good to start wiping down some of these components. Now, words of advice for anyone that's never worked in a motor bay or an engine bay before, don't use your most favorite microfiber towels, or don't use towels that you would typically use for waxing or sealing your car. You'd want to use more like rag kind of microfibers, because there are so many sharp points inside of a motor bay or an engine bay, and they will chew apart microfibers. There's always something, a rough piece of metal, a sharp piece of plastic. There's something in there that will get a towel somewhere. All right, now that we've got the engine bay clean, go ahead and I'll grab the carbon detail trim dressing. We'll go from there. All right, so here's my motor bay trim, motor bay trim dressing. And again, we don't want to go spraying it all over the motor bay. What we want to do is we want to spray it into a microfiber towel. Again, not one of your favorite microfiber towels, but more of a rag microfiber towel. And something to note, this trim dressing is gray, and it does color the towel mildly gray. I think at full strength it would actually add a little gray to the towel. Probably be easier to let you know where it's at in the towel. I've got it, again, watered down 3:1. But as you can see where I sprayed here, it is adding a little color. But it's not too unusual for car detailing chemicals. All right. I think that's going to about do it. So I will bring you in, and I will give you a close-up of how things look with the trim dressing. All right, so here we go. So I'll try to get you guys in here a little bit, but as you can see, the trim dressing actually does pretty good at adding a little depth of color and a little gloss to the plastic. I know I did wipe down some of the metal components as well. I don't expect that to have much effect, but the trim does actually look a little bit better. I mean, it was, just a little dusty, and again, it's brand new. The car is not even a year old yet. So, but it looks pretty good. And that is the Carbon Detail Supply trim and tire dressing. So, all right, we'll go back and we'll get this video wrapped up. All right, folks, there we have it. That is the Carbon Detail Supply tire dressing. I was using it diluted 3:1 in a spray bottle with some distilled water. That is the recommended dilution for engine bay and plastic trim. I think it works pretty well in my my motor bay. I know I said engine bay several times, but I did drive gas vehicles for better part of about 30 years, so old habits die hard, I guess. But I was impressed with this. It's got a nice scent. It even on the brand new car, it still added a little depth of color to the plastic. It gave it a little gloss. That's exactly as it's advertised. I like it. I think it worked pretty well. We'll see how it holds up over time. It is a water-based solution, but we'll see how it goes. I suspect that a few weeks or a month or so that probably have to be reapplied if I want to keep it semi-glossy in there. But that's pretty reasonable. That's to be expected. So, all right. Well, thank you for joining me for another episode of Foaming Ions, and I will catch you next time. Thank you.